After the Columbine High School massacre in 1999, it emerged that at least some of the ammunition that was used in that mass shooting had been purchased at a Kmart store in Littleton, Colorado. By the summer of 2001, Michael Moore was working on his film Bowling for Columbine, and he tried to get some of the ammunition that was fired in Columbine returned. It was remarkable. Watch this.
Well, I was shot with a Tech 9.
9mm.
Yeah, it was, I guess it was supposed to be semi-automatic, but it kind of seemed like fully automatic to me, from what I remember.
This is Richard Castaldo, and this is Mark Taylor. Both of these boys were shot the day of the Columbine massacre. Richard is paralyzed for life and in a wheelchair, and Mark is barely standing after numerous operations.
The kids at Columbine had to pay a penalty. We paid a penalty that day for this nation, the way we look at it.
Mark and Richard were disabled and suffering from the 17-cent Kmart bullets still embedded in their bodies. As they showed me the various entry points for the bullets, I thought of one way we could reduce the number of guns and bullets laying around. I asked the boys if they'd like to go to Kmart to return the merchandise.
Ready? You go.
I'm Mary Lorenz. I'm Director of Media Relations for Kmart.
Oh, good. All right, good.
How can I help you today?
Well, I'm here today. This is Richard Castaldo.
Richard, nice to meet you.
And this is Mark Taylor.
Mark?
And they're students from Columbine High School. They were shot at Columbine in the massacre with bullets from Kmart.
You came a long way.
Yes, they...
From Colorado.
Yeah, I just thinking it, since you stopped selling the handguns and all, and they kind of make sense to stop selling the bullets too.
Our request is that you get rid of the 9mm bullets and that you don't sell them in a short statement.
We do carry, you probably are aware of Kmart, hopefully you're shoppers of our stores, that we do only carry, sporting firearms and the accessories that go with the hunting sport. And we'll certainly take your message to our chairman and CEO, Chuck Conaway. He's not here today.
He's not here today?
He's not here actually this whole week.
Is that not at all during the week? Do you have a limit on the number of bullets, ammunition that people can purchase?
I can't answer these questions for you. I'm not the merchandiser who places those products in our
Speak to that
stores.
person.
But I can get answers to those questions for you if you would like to leave your card, and I can get those answers.
No, we don't want to leave a card. Let me just be blunt. The reason why we can't take a card and come back is because Mark here, he's got a Kmart bullet just an inch away, right?
Yeah.
From your aorta.
In between my aorta and spine.
Between your aorta and spine.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're still able to stand.
And I told them that somebody here would listen. Somebody here would take the request seriously. Not just a PR person, but somebody who has some authority and can answer some of the questions that they want answered.
Kmart does care about this, but I can't go any further right now.
My name's Lori McTavish. I'm the Vice President of Communications for Kmart. I'm happy to deliver a statement on behalf of the company. What happened in Columbine, Colorado was truly tragic and touched every American. We're sorry for the disadvantage to this young man. Kmart is phasing out the sale of handgun ammunition. The business plan calls for this to be complete in the continental U.S. within the next 90 days. Kmart representatives met with Mr. Moore and the students from Columbine, Colorado yesterday and listened to their concerns about the product carried in Kmart stores. The company committed at the end of that meeting that Kmart would have an answer for them within a week's time.
As you saw there, in 2001, Kmart phased out selling handgun ammunition in its stores in the United States. This was not a lifetime ago. This was not an era of magically kinder, gentler politics. This was George W. Bush's first term. This did not happen in the immediate aftermath of the Columbine shooting. It was more than 2 years after that massacre. If you Google Kmart handgun ammunition today, you will find that indeed there was some gnashing of teeth about Kmart's decision among the far reaches of the gun lobby. But then you will also notice that there wasn't actually all that much of it. And like all of the news coverage about Kmart making that change, all evidence of the gun lobby complaining about Kmart's decision is also dated 2001. And then it's over. Yes, there was a tiny kerfuffle about it, and then the kerfuffle went away. And 17-cent handgun bullets do not come from Kmart anymore. In the wake of the Tucson shooting, we keep getting told that any change in policy, that there can be no change in anything that affects access to guns or ammunition in our country in any way. Any change in policy is off the table. It's politically impossible. We are helpless to make any changes. Why on earth would that be true now if that was not the case in 2001? Joining us now is filmmaker Michael Moore, longtime denizen of the Kmart corporate office building in Troy, New York. Michael, thank you for being here.
Troy, Michigan, yes.
Troy, Michigan.
Yes,
right.
yes. Thank you for having me.
Bowling for Columbine is a big deal and made a big impact. It is not remembered either by the right or the left, by its proponents or its detractors, for the Kmart handgun ammunition decision that you depicted there. That is not a long-standing source of controversy. It just happened. Do you look back on that proudly?
Yes, as you could see in the footage, I was stunned when they came out the next day after I was there, and made that announcement. And all it took was these two kids going there and making that request. And you're right, it's not what's remembered from the film. Actually, what most people, I think if you go on YouTube, what's remembered is this 2-minute cartoon that I wrote and put in the film about the history of the United States when it comes to guns and why we have guns, and our history of violence and fear. But no, the 17-cent, I was just thinking this last week when the tragedy happened in Tucson. And I've been hoping some journalist would pose the question to someone in power and just say, what's the price? What's the cost of the life of a federal judge? 17 cents. That's all it takes. If you've got 17 cents in the United States of America, you can take the life of a federal judge and a 9-year-old child and just about anybody else.
Do you believe the common wisdom is true that no matter the shock, no matter the incident, it doesn't matter how people feel about what happened in Tucson or how long that feeling lasts, that we're really not capable of making any new policy about guns, that we're just politically we can't do it?
No, only the pundits say that. If you just talk to people, I was talking to one of your producers who was out there in Tucson last week, and he was saying, that everybody, including people who own guns, were saying that we need to tighten this thing up. They do it in other countries. They do it in Canada. They have strict gun laws in Canada, and of course they don't have even a tenth of the murders that we have, and yet they have a lot of guns in Canada. There's something like over 7 million guns, firearms, in people's homes in Canada. 7 million, and there's about 10 to 11 million homes. Okay, that's a lot of guns, but they only kill a couple hundred people a year in Canada, gun murders. 36 million people, that's a lot of people, 200 murders. Why is that? What do they do up there? Here's what they do, very simple. To own a gun, it has to be licensed and registered. You have to go through a safety course. After you've gone through the safety course, I don't mean just with handguns, any gun, you then have to go through a 28-day waiting period. During that 28-day waiting period, you have to bring in, if you are married or have been married, you have to bring in a permission slip signed by your spouse or your ex-spouse saying that it's okay for him to have a gun. Just a few simple rules like that. And plus the magazines that you can't put, you can't have 30 bullets, things like that. That gun that was used in Tucson is illegal in Canada. There's no way it's legal. No way you could do that in Canada.
Even in a country where there are a ton of guns. A ton of guns,
and where the #1 sport is hunting. There's more hunters in Canada than there are hockey players. And yet they don't kill each other, which really gets to my larger point that I really feel needs to be addressed in the national discussion that's taking place right now, which is why us? Why us? Why do we, more than any other country, do this? I think it's more than just the laws. There's a reason why we want to own these guns. Like you pointed out last week that we're #1 in gun ownership, and then Yemen
is number two. A distant number two.
A distant number two. So why us? Why do we have this? And the majority of these guns, I mean, the vast majority of these guns, are owned by people who live in safe parts of town or mostly in suburbs and rural areas. places where there are very few murders. Your same producer was saying to me backstage here that he was talking to people there who, he says everybody's packing there. I mean, the surgeons there at the hospital, they said they have guns, everybody has a gun, yet they all said, we have a very low gun murder rate here in Tucson, so why do you have a gun then? Why do you have a gun? What are you afraid of? What is that thing that we're afraid of, that we want to have a gun in the house? Because there's only something like 500 or 600 home invasion murders a year in this country. I don't want to say only, but in a nation of 310 million people, we have about 500 people a year are killed through an actual home invasion, the thing that we're all the most afraid of. And of that 500, there's something, I don't have the exact number, but it's a very high percentage. I think almost a third of those, the people that are killed with the gun that the criminal found in the house, or they've taken it away from the homeowner and killed the homeowner with it. So,
but when we imagine home invasions in the movie in our head,
yes,
we're always we're never being disarmed of our own weapon, and we're always being effective with it, and it's never being used against us.
Yes, and I am loath to bring up what is in our head, because we don't like to talk about it so much. But on this particular day, on Martin Luther King Day, I think this needs to be said. Yeah. That imaginary person that's going to break into your home and kill you, who does that person look like? You know, it's not freckled-faced Jimmy down the street, is it really? I mean, that's not what really people, we never really want to talk about the racial or the class part of this in terms of how it's the poor or it's people of color that we imagine that we're afraid of. Why are we afraid? What is that? And it's been a fear that has existed for a very, very long time. And, you know, but I love this quote by Martin Luther King. Somebody said to him one time, you know, why do we need to enact a federal anti-lynching law? You know, I mean, you can't force people to love each other. You can't, you know, a law isn't going to make somebody not a racist. And he said, yeah, that's true. You can't legalize us getting along with each other. But I have a feeling if we pass an anti-lynching law, it probably is going to help. And it did. And we need these laws, but we also need to address the larger issue of why are we such a violent people? And not just personal domestic violence, but a nation that invades other countries, that has such a huge weapons budget, that just seems just so intent on violence being the answer. And I think that's the thing, we want to dance around here. We're afraid of really talking about it. If we can just focus on something else, we're going to be okay.
What happens is we focus on it from tragedy to tragedy to tragedy. The question is whether or not we can stay focused on enough to do something about it. Michael Moore, I always feel like I'm very lucky to have this much of your time. Thank you for coming in here.
Well, thank you, and thank you for everything that you do and the warm and fuzzy nature of everything that you create on this show and on this network.
You are the only person who thinks of me as warm and fuzzy, and for that I'm doubly grateful, sir. Thank you very much, Michael. It's good to see you.